So tell me, Alex, what school did you choose?
I chose Florida State University.
That's really great. And why did you choose FSU?
Well, besides the fact that I actually like the campus at FSU, I really like their program because they have a 5-year master's degree program that I can do rather than me finishing my bachelor's in 4 and then applying to get my master's for another 2 years. I can just do it in 5 years.
Alex, I want you to tell me about some of the academic challenges that you faced while you were in high school.
So, my first big challenge that I actually really had was in my 9th grade year when our math teacher left. She left for a week at first, and then she came back and she said, "Don't worry guys, I'm just taking a vacation, I'll be back." And she never came back. So we didn't have a math teacher for like 2 months, and we had a EOC that was mandatory to take, but we didn't have a math teacher. And they got us a math teacher I think a week before the test. So we had to learn 2 months worth of math in a week. And I think that was like the roughest time I've ever had in high school because it went beyond me having to study in class. I had to go home and actually look up the materials that are I basically knew nothing about Algebra 2. And basically I had to go home and I would I'd stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning just studying. And I'd come into school with a bunch of different questions for my math teacher because I didn't know what was going on. But thanks to that, I actually ended up passing my EOC with a 4. So I can say that my work actually paid off.
And what was it like dealing with some of those challenges?
Well, at first I contemplated not doing it because I was like, I could be playing video games right now. I really don't feel like doing this. But once I actually sat down and actually started thinking about it and actually started doing the work, it actually came pretty naturally to me because it's basically as long as I just sat there and actually did the work and I took my time with it, didn't rush my way through it, it came naturally to me. So it wasn't that really big of a challenge. It was more or less me having to actually do it on my own because I felt like I'm at school to learn from someone, not to just go home and do it by myself, but also realize that I have to take my own initiative here. So if someone isn't willing to teach me, I can teach myself.
Alex, describe for me some of the personal challenges that you had to overcome in order to finish high school.
So a big personal challenge of mine would have to be my dad. So my dad actually stepped out of my life when I was 13. So just as I was going into high school, there was just a difference in how I should be raised or just a confliction between him and my mother. And basically I was really hurt. I was lost at the time because I felt like that's my dad. So I don't hate him in any way. I love my dad from the bottom of my heart. But for the simple fact that my dad stepped out of my life, I felt like I should use that as a motivation rather than just shut down and not let that motivate me.
Describe how you overcame some of those challenges. Describe for me those moments of him not being there and what did that feel like and how did you cope with that?
Well, I felt anguished and I felt hate, but I also felt like it was my fault that he had left. But after a certain amount of time, I took a step back and I realized that it's not my fault, nor is it his fault. It's just a differing of opinions. And rather than me just shutting down and letting that moment define me, I took it in and I basically told myself that I don't have to let this hold me back anymore. I can use this to keep going forward. And whenever I'm really pressed for something and whatnot, I always remember that this moment isn't going to define me. It always depends on how I overcome this moment. So if I let this moment crush me and I don't get back up, then that's what I'll be. But if I do end up getting back up in the end, then I've overcome this.
So you're heading off to college. What are you most looking forward to?
I have to say the independence because I'll be moving away from home and it's a first, but I feel like it'll be a good experience because I'll finally be able to actually step away from my mother and show her that I can handle myself on my own and that I'm also capable of living without her, or I can actually do something for the world.
Alex, describe for me what the EMSHE Scholarship has meant for you and your family.
The EMSHE Scholarship, it it's amazing, like, because my biggest financial problem was housing, because I have Bright Futures now, which would pay for my tuition, but I wouldn't have been able to find a place to live due to the fact that housing was so expensive. But now that I actually have the scholarship, it's come to the point where I'll actually end up being paid to go to school, because I have so much money in reserve that when they do their annual refund, it will come back to me, and I'll basically be able to put that in an account for the side for when I actually go back to school and I end up facing other financial problems. I will be able to pay for that myself.
So how did your mom feel about you potentially going away?
So when I did end up getting my acceptance letter, my mom, she went to check the mail first, and then she stops and she looks at her hand and she looks at me. She's like, "No, I don't want you to go away." I was like, "What do you mean?" And I saw the letter from Purdue and I was like, "Oh yes, this is amazing." But deep down I knew that she didn't really want me to go away, because I would be so far away from her and she wouldn't be able to get to me in time. But basically I ended up pushing the thought of going to Purdue to the side for a little bit, because I wanted to see where else I would get accepted at. And then FAU came and they offered me, I got my admissions letter through them. But with FAU, they weren't offering me as many programs or as much in financial aid as FSU. So I ended up accepting my letter to FSU due to the fact that I would still be in Florida, and I could still end up being within travel distance from my mother. And basically, she never told me that. She never told me that it didn't really worry her that much, but you could tell that it was there. Whenever I brought up the subject, she would always be like, "Well, I'm just more or less worried about getting to you in time." So I know that helped ease her.
You know, it must mean a lot for your mom to support you going off to school. Describe that feeling for me.
Well, when we actually met with Mr. Emmanuel a couple weeks before, and when she talked to him, you could see like that worry that she had, because he basically helped ease her, and he told her about like all the different opportunities I would be able to have, and basically how his grandmother felt with the same situation too. But basically it really helped ease her and whatnot. But it made me feel like she was actually starting to trust me as like the young man that I'm actually developing into. So rather than seeing me as her little baby boy, I'm actually developing into someone more.
Nancy, tell me about what it's been like to watch Alex grow over the last couple of years.
From seeing him work behind the scenes as our utilities person for our summer camp, to now being able to venture out and actually work for the Art Armory, it has been amazing. You've been able to see him take initiative when others would just sit back and wait to be told what to do. And now he's able to go out and say, okay, I can direct a group of people to clean up, or I can direct a group of people to set up for the next activity. And so it's really great to have seen him just grow and become the young man that he is today.
Nancy, describe for me some of the practical ways that you feel the scholarship is going to help Alex as he goes to college this summer.
Being able to see that others see the greatness in him, and to bring that up and say, okay, you can get a scholarship that'll send you away to grow even more, I think has really helped him to see that, okay, I do have the skill set that people have said, but now that there's action behind it, has helped him to see that I could totally do this, that I have people behind me, and I don't have to worry about if schooling is going to be paid for. I don't have to put that burden on my mom. I don't have to put the burden on myself.
And as a final note, Nancy, tell me, would you encourage other students to apply for the EMSHE Award as well?
Most definitely. I know that in years past that I've inherited a group of students that actually got it when they were juniors and have been able to use it through their senior year to apply for schools and to and pay for those fees. So applying for EMSHE would be great.